In this week's brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters in Project Cars 2, we're heading back to the power-crazed 80s as the Group 5 Nissan Skyline Silhouette takes on our grueling Azure Coast hill climb course. But with over 600 brake horsepower of turbocharged Japanese fury to play with, can it reign as king of the monsters? Let's go find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Martinio and welcome back to Project Cars 2 and a brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters. And this week's challenger, as you can see on screen, is the Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette. And the reason I went for this car this week is because, well, we haven't done a Group 5 car yet. And shameful as it may seem, after nearly, 36 episodes, that we haven't done a Group 5 car yet. So it's high time we did that. And I know a few people have asked for the Capri, but honestly, I will get round to that. But I fancy doing the Skyline for this one, because I don't think we've done a Nissan in a little while either. So there we go. So that's the reason we're going for this car this week. So let's jump into it as we always do by taking a look at some of the stats. So produced in 1982, it falls into that mental Group 5 category. It is rear wheel drive. It's got a 5-speed H-pattern shifter or gearbox bolted to a straight 4 engine, producing a massive 640 brake horsepower. 0 to 60 comes up in just under 4.5 seconds. It will go all the way to 180 miles an hour. As you would imagine from a car from this here, there is no traction, stability or ABS, none of that nonsense. Control difficulty is 3, core ring speed is 2, and the weight is coming in at just over 2,200 pounds there. So yeah, fairly impressive and somewhat scary all the way around. So yeah, it was this was sort of the racing version of the first sort of performance Skyline, and it fell into, like I said, it's that mental Group 5 category, and it was just balmy, wasn't it, really? Because from what I've been reading, it was pretty much, while it looks like a regular Skyline with some wings bolting to it and, you know, wider body and everything, under it, it's like a, you know, it's producing as much power as the Formula 1 cars of that particular era in certain points. I know there was some that were going over 1,000 when you whacked the boost up, but then it would last like half a lap before it exploded. But yeah, really fun class, really mental looking cars as well. And I imagine it was going to be a challenge, considering that I did the Ferrari F40 LM last week. I thought with this one I'd be in pretty good stead after getting that one round by getting this one round, because they're both turbocharged, of course, and both very challenging to drive. But in terms of the practice and setup of the car, it was pretty well dialed in from the start with the stable setup. There were some changes I had to make. I had to mess around with the braking because it would just lock up like that. The biases as well, because it was prone to a little bit of rear end brake locking. The other things I did is I didn't have to soften it up. It felt fairly soft over the bumps as well. It maybe did have a little bit too much body roll. I didn't want to stiff it up too much though. But it was just, I didn't really play around much with the suspension. I did soften the roll bar up at the rear, and then I went the other way. I tightened it up a bit and went higher on it. The wings as well, I went 3 at the front and 6 at the back. I tried going 5 at the back, but the rear end was just all over the shop, and it was really difficult to get the power down through some of those medium speed corners. And yeah, I mean, the other thing is just messing around with the gearbox and the tyres, and that's pretty much it. There wasn't really much else for me to do, really. It was fairly well set up from the start. The only change I made with regards to the engine and the engine management and so on, it was running at 90% boost, and I've whacked it all the way up to 100 because I wanted to get this thing round at 100% boost. But even with that, it was fairly well civilized. So I mean, in terms of the practice, it was pretty good, actually. Like I said, it was pretty good to get around it. It wasn't understeery. It wasn't overly, it wasn't overly snappy at the rear. It was, you'd have the odd moment where the turbo spool up and you maybe, didn't get the gear change quick enough, and sometimes you'd have to be short shifting where it would just kick. But it wasn't so bad that it was just really unmanageable. Even if you did get the rear end a little bit out of shape, you could rein it back in again. So it's a very, very very forgiving car to drive, I'd say. And I mean, if you haven't tried it yet, I'd give it a go. If you're looking to sort of move up, if you're starting out as a beginner and you want to move up to something more powerful, something turbocharged, I'd say this would be a good port of call. It's challenging, but it's not overly challenging. It's not going to kick your ass for every little mistake. You can rein it in. You can get it back under control as well. But as you would imagine, there were a few accidents along the way. So this first one, coming down to a bridge curve, going up the hill, and it just snapped a little bit at the rear. One of the problems with it was, if you get over the bumps, it can break traction at the rear, and then it just got really out of shape and into the barrier as we go, and that was pretty much that done. And then this one here, coming down to the first corner, got ourselves a little bit out of shape by clipping the curb on the inside through the first corner, and yeah, just had a bit of oversteer, and then off we go into these horrible bollard things, and that's pretty much wrecked the front end, and that's game over on that front as well. So yeah, it was challenging at times, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't overly challenging. It wasn't a particularly difficult car to drive for the most part. I was expecting it to be a lot more difficult to drive, let's just say that. But moving on to what it should be aiming for. So in terms of the leaderboards, there wasn't many Group 5 cars on there. I had to go, the only Group 5, I couldn't find any Skylines. I went through like 30 pages and I couldn't find the Skyline, and I eventually found the I eventually found a Group 5 car, and it was a Capri with a 647.1, which put it at the bottom of page number 3 there. So pretty impressive time. It gives us something to aim for. I mean, in terms of our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboards, I'm not too sure really. It could fall between page number 2 and number 3 there, based on that Capri time. So I mean, we haven't really done anything that you could possibly say would fall within that category. I don't think. Maybe the 93577 potentially. You know, it's sort of around the same sort of era, potentially. Maybe the M1 Pro car potentially on page number 3 as well. But yeah, so there's not really much for it to go up for. So I'm going to be aiming for that Capri on the actual full-blown time trial leaderboard. So that's the goal for this one. But the only way we're going to find out if it can do it is by getting into it. So let's head down to the track now and see how the Skyline Super Silhouette got on its best run. Okay then guys, so here we go. Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette on our Zero Coast Hill Climb course, and heading down to the first corner now. Get up to 4th, we're going to duck it down to 3rd gear though for this one. You get much better turning, and you get a lot more of throttle response coming out as well, because the thing with the turbocharged cars is you do have to keep your foot in it just a little bit, just to keep from the turbo just winding down basically, getting horrible turbo lag. But down to cruise liner corner now, very good on turning there. And again through here, trash can corner. And yeah, I mean, it's very good on turn. It's just the exit of the corner. You get occasions where it maybe drift a little bit too wide, and it will just spin up the rears. But over the magic roundabout now, nearly 110 miles an hour, threading the needle, and off we go up towards stickman squats now. And again, just getting the car settled before we bump it up into 4th gear. And again, a little bit of cadence braking just to make sure we don't lock up those fronts or those rears. And again, you can just hear it. It takes a little bit of a while just to sort of wind itself up a little bit, and then there it goes. There it goes. The turbo kicks in, and we get a little bit of oversteer. We catch it nice and early though, and off we go down the happy highway. And normally we say a little bit of a breather, but you're going to see here we get just a little wobble there as we come over that hump. But over this one where we can stay absolutely flat. Some cars you do have to lift because it will go completely nose up or worse, but with this, no such bother. And through here, which is traffic cone corner, again good through there. It had a fairly big lift and a little bit of braking there, but no real danger. Off we go again, and now we're coming down towards Stonewall corner. And again, just to be a little bit gentle, get it down to 3rd gear just to get that nose in, get ourselves up the hill again. You have to be a little bit careful just over that crest there, because it can catch you out. Like I said, it's just when you get over certain bumps, it just, you know, the rear loses a little bit of traction. The rear tires lose a little bit of traction. If you get it just as the boost is kicking in, then you're in a little bit of trouble there, because it will just start to, you know, spin up those rear wheels, and you'll have a bit of work to do. But again, just have to be gentle. You just see there, just maybe a little bit of rear end braking. We again catch it nice and early, and again coming through here, just have to be gentle on the throttle. That's one of the issues around here, because a lot of the corners, a lot of the acceleration zones, you're still cornering at the same time while you're trying to get the power on. And in a turbocharged car, you can get a lot of oversteer with that. But down to the slowest corner on the course, Captain Slow Corner, named of course after James May. And off we go again up the hill and down towards what would be the back end of sector number 1. You get the nose in, and then just get it settled before you get on the power. And pretty good sector one, not incredible, but okay, and it's manageable, and it's something we can push on with. But through into Silver Spoon Village now, and down the hill. Again, just have to be a little bit careful. It's very, very uneven ground, but pretty much flat through here as we got onto Outrun. That was the danger curve, and up the hill, and again, just we've had moments here. That bump there in particular can really unsettle the car. And again, down through the follow through, and down into Fraggle Rock corner now. Get down to third gear, get the power on again. Just wait for that turbo to kick in, and just hold on for dear life, pretty much. But as we come now through here, it's but for a lot of cars it's flat out, but it's like a dual apex, longish corner. And then get down to second, get that nose in nice and early, and off we go again. Be careful of the rear, try to kick itself out, and this place here as well, you just have to be a little bit gentle, because we saw we had that accident in practice through there as well. As we come into the Mongo McRae Hill complex, and a little bit of oversteer there, and again over this hump. Again, if you're taking the bumps and the jumps straight, it's fine. But if you ever so slightly cornering, then you can get into a bit of bother, because, like I said, the rear does like to snap. But I mean, it's not an overly snappy car. It's not like the Ferrari F40 LM from last week, which was very, very difficult. This is very manageable. Even if it does get a little bit out of shape, just give it a quick jab of counter steer, and it normally sorts it out, and off you go again. But back through that corner there, and onto the Camel Straight now. Over the bumps again, to try to get it nice and straight as we go over the bumps. And again, through this one here, we're going to go a little bit nose down. Again, if the hitboxes were there, it probably would have torn that front wing right off. But thankfully, this thing can phase through concrete apparently. And again, just being a bit gentle on the power as we're starting to corner, as we're getting on the power there. Just get a little bit of counter steer as we come down the pogo stick straight over these bumps, up and down we go. Going to get it down into second gear, get the front right wheel in that grass a little bit, helps bring the car around, and again just a little bit there as well. Again, you just have to be a little bit careful. I mean, honestly, I was expecting it to be a hell of a lot worse than this. I was expecting it to be on par, or maybe even worse than the Ferrari F40 LM from last week, but it is very, very manageable. And while you do have a few moments here and there, it's like I said, it's not outside of your control to rein it back in and still keep going quickly, basically. And as we finish Sector 2, and it was a very, very good Sector 2, by far and away my best Sector 2 throughout all of practice and my timed runs as well. By nearest bit so different, by 3-4 seconds. So I don't know what I found through there. It didn't feel like I was 3-4 seconds quicker, but whatever we found is definitely going to help towards the back end now. As we come through the tunnel, again, a little bit of oversteer, and off down the viaduct straight. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just surprisingly civilized, but you do have to still be a little bit careful with it. I mean, I was expecting worth. I've driven the Group 5 cars in the first Project Cars game, and they are a bit of a handful, so I was expecting that. But yeah, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised with how good this thing was. And again, just a little bit of jab of counter steer just to keep this thing in check as we come on to sweeps now. And it was pretty good through here. Again, you have to be a little bit careful. The roof pillar there is a little bit of an issue at times, because you can't quite see in certain scenarios where the apex is. Like here, you can't quite see it, so I could probably get closer to the wall. And the other thing is, this is quite a wide car as well, so sort of the edge you can see there as we hit a barrier, and we're going to tag this one as well just a little bit, so that might cost a little bit of time. But as I was saying, it's quite a wide car as well, and that caught me out a few times early on in practice where I wasn't quite, you can't see where the edge of the car is, because it ducks down off the bonnet, the left wing there. And but as we come through here and down towards what will be the final corner on Rocky Road, you can get the nose in nice and early, get it down to second. Maybe should have done second earlier. Getting on the power again, keep it on the check, and across the line. And it's going to be a time of 6 minutes 58.860. So honestly, I was quite surprised. I mean, if we look at the leaderboards here, it would have been good enough for page number 5 and position number 42 there, but we are so far off that Ford Capri. So I don't know if it's just an absolutely cracking run. Not out of the question, of course. He could just be an immensely better driver than me, or there's some sort of gulf between these two cars. I'll be doing the Capri, as I mentioned, at some point in the near future, so we will see there. But yeah, I was surprised that it was near as makes no difference, 11 seconds off the pace of the Capri. So yeah, we only managed to get it on page number 5. I mean, it doesn't get a time on the leaderboards, and we all know why, but if it got a time on our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard, it would have been down on page number 3 and position number 22. So it's 4 seconds off the Porsche 93577. It's a little bit better than the Lotus, well, about 6 seconds faster, 6 or 7 seconds faster than sorry, about 8 seconds faster, sorry, than the Lotus Type 49C there. But yeah, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff, there wasn't a whole lot of cars on our current Hill Climb Monsters leaderboards for us to sort of go up against and test itself against. So yeah, but like I said, it's a really good car to drive. The main problems is it's just you've sort of got to train your brain just to sort of keep your foot in the accelerator just a little bit, just to make sure that the turbo doesn't wind down, because you hear moments where it's just and then it builds up. So it's just that. And I think, honestly, I think I could go faster. I mean, we did have that little bump where the rear got out of shape, and we just tagged that barrier and then tagged it again. But I mean, overall, pretty fun car to drive, very manageable. Like I said, if you're a beginner and you're coming up through the ranks, if you're getting into sort of this era or maybe the Group 5s, I'd say this is probably the best one to try if you're just a beginner, you've never driven any of the Group 5 cars, because it is very manageable, but it's still a little bit of a challenge as well at the same time. But there we go. So the Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette goes 22nd on our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard with that 658.860. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of today's episode, guys. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Apologies for the lateness of this. I'm trying to get these videos out earlier. It's just things seem to be popping up in the day that prevent me from recording and getting things edited together, so apologies for that. But yeah, like I said, thank you everybody so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you would like to see more sim racing content from myself, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Subscribe especially if you are a fan of Dirt Rally 2.0, because I'm going to be checking out the new DLC. There'll be a double upload tomorrow, so if you want to see those videos, make sure you go subscribe, hit that bell notification so you get an update for when those videos go live. And also, guys, let me know in the comments, have you driven the Skyline Super Silhouette? How do you think it stacks up against the Capri? Have you driven both of them, or is there a big gulf, or is it just a case that was an absolutely cracking lap from the guy with that 648? Let me know in the comments, guys. Always happy to hear from you. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you everybody so much for watching. Stay cool, and as always, I will catch you in the next video. Peace.